What's up, everyone? I'm back with another news gaming topic. Today, we finally got confirmation of what happened with Reuben Langdon, the voice actor of Street Fighter 6. He plays Ken Masters, and he also plays as Dante in Devil May Cry. So we found out finally where he got cucked over by Capcom and the directors of Street Fighter, what happened to him, why did he lose his job of voicing Ken, and much more. So now we officially have some info, and we're going to be reading this article, and I'm going to be telling you what I think about it. All right. Before we start that, though, I'd appreciate if you guys could like, follow, share, sub, all the things you can do on this channel to help me. I'm building this community each day, and I really appreciate if you could do that. That would be very awesome of you if you could. All right, let's continue, and let's see why Capcom cucked over Reuben Langdon for the voice of Ken Masters in Street Fighter 6. Let's find out this whole story. We're on Bonding Into Comics, and they have an article on here about Capcom voice actor Reuben Langdon confirms Newsweek hit piece led to his Street Fighter recasting. Says he's still attached to Devil May Cry because series director saw what a bunch of bullshit it was. There we go. What an article. Okay, that's the start of it, and that's one of his characters. If you guys never played Devil May Cry, that's Dante. Probably one of the most legendary characters for sure, with also Street Fighter. Top tier. Two of the most popular Capcom games. Reuben Langdon plays a legendary voice actor himself. He's been doing this for years. So let's see what actually happened here. This is going to be a lot to take in, guys, so stay with me, okay? Okay, so I'll play some gaming stuff in the background while I read, so you guys don't get bored, because there's going to be a lot to take in here. Following months of public speculation that given a recent stirring of absence from a number of recent Capcom outings, his personal, social, political opinions have had results in his being labeled a personal non-great by the Japanese developer. Voice actor Reuben Langdon has clarified that while a misinterpretation of his words was indeed resulted in his expulsion from the Street Fighter franchise, it has had no effect on his continued performance as Devil May Cry stylish protagonist. There's a lot of issues that happen in Capcom development of Street Fighter, as well as Reuben Langdon getting shunned because of his own opinions or his own morals, or what he believes in. He got shunned for the wrong reasons, and let's just continue to read that. As previously reported, suspicions surrounding the long-time Ken Masters and Dante voice actors expulsion from Capcom were first raised in 2021 when following a dishonest attempt by Newsweek 3 years earlier to paint him as a right-wing extremist and a conspiracy theorist based on both criticisms he made towards potential for corruption inherited in the BLM and Me Too movement, as well as compliments he gave Vic Mignognas, I don't know if I said that wrong, I probably butchered his last name, character Addis, the height of the Kick Vic campaign. The Devil May Cry Peak of Combat mobile game was unexpectedly released with not Langdon, but rather PM Seymour in the role of the franchise red-coated lead. Okay, so we got some back information. Newsweek pretty much messed them up. Fan fears towards the voice actors firing were when further compounded when in 2022 it was announced likewise without explanation that rather than Langdon, upcoming Street Fighter 6 would instead be brought to life by David Monteranga, Shoto My Hero Academia. Never watched My Hero Academia, but yeah, he's the new voice actor for Ken Masters in Street Fighter 6. Still a good game though. Gameplay wise, one of the better Street Fighter games I played in a long time. Really fun. And unfortunately for those seeking clarification on the matter, the next few years would see their questions left unanswered, as rather than publicly comment on his Capcom career, Langdon chose to maintain radio silence and instead shift his attention to raising awareness on such topics as UFO disclosures, U.S. government authoritism, such as their campaign to force the jabs and social media censorship. Completely fine. I don't see anything wrong about this. People have their own opinions. They talk about things like this. I talk about these too, but you know, for some people this is very sensitive. But you know, yeah, he talked about important life stuff and topics that, you know, you can talk about UFOs and stuff like that. That's like main media stuff. Like everyone's talking about that all the time. People are always talking about the jabs. People are always talking about government corruption and the social media censorship. That's everywhere. That's everywhere. It's not a big problem. I don't know what. I don't see anything wrong here. He didn't do anything wrong so far. So let's just continue. However, this silence would eventually be broken on February 19th when, thanks to an organization efforts provided by the video game centric YouTuber Makel Kaznanova, streamer and ESTV minority owner Tenoro Delight, Twitch streamer Boomer Pyro, and Captain David Beard, and Twitter user the One Otaku One, Langdon hosted a Twitter Space discussion with the intention of setting the record straight regarding his future as either of the developers' iconic red-themed heroes. So he's gonna say what happened. Here we go. Beginning on the topic of Street Fighter, the voice actor unfortunately confirmed to listeners that not only was his dropping from this role of Ken permanent, but that it had in fact been directly caused by the aforementioned Newsweek hit piece. So in 2019, recalled the voice actor recapping his side of the story from square one. I'm back in Japan, and I did an interview for some guys out of Florida, YouTuber Toy Bounty Hunters, Hero Hell, and Yellow Flash. I know Yellow Flash. Well, I see his videos. I don't know him personally, but I've seen his videos. He's a good, cool guy. Yellow Flash. I watch his videos. He's cool. I didn't even know from very well of what their background was. They just asked me if I could come on and do an interview for Devil May Cry 5, since either it just came out or was just coming out. In that interview, they brought up this whole fiasco with Vic Mignogna. And because I had worked with Vic, they were sort of asking my opinion. He detailed, I had no idea. I didn't know what kind of trouble Vic was in. I didn't know what was going on there. They had asked me some questions about my experiences working with him, and I just told them, hey, as far as I know, Vic's been a stand-up guy. He's been a man of his word for me. I can't say him otherwise. And as far as I've seen him navigate things with women and that kind of thing, of course, he seemed like a ladies' man, but it never seemed like went much further than that. I don't know who this Vic person is. I didn't research that, but I'm guessing he was labeled as a bad person. He thinks he's not guilty, or he's not really He's just labeled for something, I guess, he pronounced to be real. I don't know. I'm not sure about the whole story about that, but let's continue. Then you hear all this stuff, and I'm like, I can't comment on that, said Langdon. So when I started talking about other stuff like the Me Too movement and the BLM and how those groups start off as good thing, but oftentimes they get hijacked. And at that time, I guess it was still a little too early to say that, because now we know, look at the leaders of BLM and what they've done with the money and all that stuff. We know with the Me Too movement and all. Yup. He wasn't wrong. And a lot of people follow this narrative without questioning anything whatsoever, because feelings and problem with actually using common sense, actually investigating, researching, and it's all about the feeling. And he said that even back then. He was right. He wasn't wrong. And look what happened. Everything went to shit. And he was telling it how it is. Tell it how it's straight. So he continued. Newsweek calls me and says, hey, we want to do an interview with you in regard to your comments that you did in that podcast. And I said, yeah, sure, absolutely. This was all done by email, and I have the records. I have the receipts. And I said, sure, I'll be happy to do an interview and talk about what I said about the Me Too and BLM, and clarified that if you wish, said the voice actor. However, when it comes to Vic, I'm not going to comment because I don't know the situation. It's not my place to say anything. Good. That's a good answer, because he's not sure. He probably did, he did jobs with him as voice acting, and he doesn't fully know the situation, what's going on, but he's not going to blame it right away. People blame people for no reason. Point the finger because you did it, you're guilty, you've done this, without even learning what happened. This is a problem. In society, that's a problem too. So that's a good answer. He says, I'm not going to comment on it. I don't know the situation, what's going on, so it's better to be just silent, Need to look into it more. Then this Newsweek article by that writer, no idea who it was, came out and was basically taking things that I had said in the interview out of context, or with no context, and just saying, Reuben said this and this and this about BLM and Me Too, that I'm a right-wing extremist, that I'm a UFO alien believer, crazy nutcase, the voice actor said, which is crazy because 2 months prior, Newsweek had interviewed me for a magazine article, Newsweek Special Edition Life Beyond Earth, talking about ETs and extraterrestrial life. They did an article on me, and I'm highlighted in positive way. Wow. So Newsweek cocked him over as well for this bullshit take because he didn't like what Langdon had to say. So they stabbed him in the back and took everything out of context, and they screwed him over. So this probably ruined his career with some of the Capcom developers or the Capcom directors. This is a bullshit take. The media always spins something out of control. If they don't like something, they do this all the time. They take everything out and make it sound horrible and bad. They do this all the time. This is why journalists and a lot of these other companies usually are like the worst people. People don't want to do interviews with these journalists. They don't trust them because they take everything over the top, and they have their weird ass agendas that people don't like. This is why journalism is dead. It's dead. And a lot of these people, these official Newsweek people, these articles and stuff are a bunch of baloney. This other guy from Newsweek puts out this total fake news article. He then opened. I was telling my wife about how fake news is a real thing and how even mainstream media goes in and does hit pieces on other whistleblowers. This is the conspiracy theory stuff before my situation. And she was with me, but not really. And then this whole thing came out and she was witnessing everything what happened. So some people wrote Capcom, particularly Street Fighter series producer Yoshinori Ono-san, noted Langdon. He saw it and I guess he lost his shit. He didn't understand the nuance and didn't bother to reach out to me to ask, what the hell's going on? He got super scared and actually called. I remember this very clearly because this was a few days before E3 started. My partner calls me and he goes, Reuben, what the fuck did you do? And I'm like, what do you mean? I didn't do anything. You don't realize how much damage you've done. We just lost the Street Fighter gig. And he said, yeah, because of the Newsweek article, the motion capture company, Just Cause Production, that I was no longer a part of, actually lost a multi-million-dollar gig because Ono, in a sense, thought that I was still part of the company, which I wasn't. Didn't do any research, any homework, didn't look into it, or even bother to have a conversation. Wow. So the director fired him because he didn't want to get too controversial. He didn't want to look into it because he just pussied out. Let's just say that. He pussied out. He didn't want to look into it. He just didn't want the mob to go after him or any other situation. I tried to arrange a meeting so I could sit down with Ono-san and explain that what happened, that this was all taken out of context. This was not the case. It was a hit piece, clearly from this Newsweek guy, he asserted. But Ono-san wouldn't have it. He wouldn't even take a meeting. It was crazy. Very, very pussy move of him. Very dangerous. A shame of Ono-san for doing that, because you're working with someone. You should know everything about what the situation, what is going on, because, you know, he's a legendary voice actor. Like, why not? Like, look into it. No, he just didn't want to. And let's continue, because this is where Capcom also is going to fail with Ono-san and, you know, the whole Street Fighter development. It starts getting worse there because of this and more. Everybody was trying to get me a meeting. Langdon told his host, so you know, I just left it as is. In my apologies to my partner, I'm sorry this has happened this way. This is just this crazy world we're in. I turned out later there were other issues with Ono-san. I think he publicly quit. But there was a lot going on there that I think Capcom was ready for him to move on. And the project met all kinds of delays because of that. There were script issues. Even the director was switched and off the project. There were a lot of issues. There you go. Capcom had issues with Ono-san, so they switched him out. They took care. He publicly left. There was issues with Street Fighter 6, but did they get Langdon back to do Ken's voice? Probably not. They probably got someone else. But it wasn't really Capcom's fault, to be honest. It was the director of the Street Fighter 6. He didn't want to look into it. So Capcom kind of has a word in it, but mostly it's the directors. So that's kind of good. Still, let's say Capcom. There you go, Capcom. Basically, at all that happened, he continued. Years later, the pandemic hits. And then, yes, I'm very vocal about the jab, about the forced jabs, which is a breaking of a Nuremberg Code from World War II to force inject anyone with anything without their consent. We already learned this lesson, and just to see this industry, my industry, the entertainment particularly, take their stance broke my heart. And I was like, I don't want any part of this. Yes, good job, Langdon. Good job with that. He had his own beliefs, put his foot down, and he's like, I don't like what's going on. I'm questioning what is even going on in the entertainment space in general, everywhere, because he knows, he did his homework, he researched, and he understands what is going on. And he was right. That's another reason probably they didn't like to talk about that thing, because, you know, they want to shun them because they're, you know, call them bigots and every kind of word, you know, shun them out of the entertainment industry. You had that with Disney, with Gina Carano. Remember that too. They had that issue where Gina just was asking questions and they were forcing her all sorts of ideologies and things, how to train her, how to think. That is the worst thing you can ever have. That is the wrong thing to do. And Gina left. They fired her, and she's doing great. Gina Carano's doing great now. She's going to all the cons and everything. So this is another one, a distaste in my mouth of how bad these industries are. Following this lengthy testimony, Langdon then assured fans that while he may no longer be gracing the speakers during the occasional round of Street Fighter near the Newsweek hit piece, nor his personal opinions had any effect on the continued role as Dante. And so, a few months after that, he told listeners Devil May Cry series director Hideki Isuno-san calls up and says, "Hey, Reuben, can you come back to Japan and do a mocap? We're going to do a special edition of Devil May Cry 5. So I went back and I asked Itsuno-san and my partner too, what's the deal? How come you guys didn't flip out over Reuben's Newsweek article?" And they were like, "Yeah, we just looked into it and it's fine." Just like that, it's fine. Nothing, that's not a big problem. Nah, it's okay. So the DMC team looked into and saw what a bunch of BS it was. The voice actor laughed, including Itsuno-san. They did the research and totally validated that I didn't say anything to offend anybody, or what I wasn't whatever Newsweek tried to make me out as. All the lies. So it was fine. I haven't talked to Itsuno-san lately. He added, "But as far as I know, our relationship is fine and I haven't been canceled. I haven't been spanked or told otherwise." That's great news. So he will continue doing Devil May Cry as Dante. That is wonderful, because without him, you cannot make Devil May Cry. He is the voice of Dante. Fans would not have it whatsoever. To this end, Langdon then explained that his absence from Devil May Cry Peak of Combat was not due to his beliefs or views, but rather budgetary constraints, so budget problem. On the behalf of its developer, China-based Nebula Joy, the night before the recording, I got an email from the lady saying, "We're so sorry to do this to you, Reuben, but this project has been canceled," he said. And I knew that was sort of, okay, something happened probably with the finances where they weren't able to afford it or something along that line. They literally probably didn't have enough money to finish the game, or at least hire professional voice actors or whatever. Reuben then stressed, "That doesn't mean I was canceled. This doesn't mean Capcom hates me, because this happened with the 2007 Madhouse anime and other projects. It wasn't up to Capcom to cast me. Okay, so Capcom, they're just the publishers. They're not the ones. They're not the directors. They don't force anything on the directors or anything, you know. Everyone in Japan, I guess, has different opinions as well, different says, like in Capcom directors. So yeah, the anime for that was really good. Just saying. I think it was so cool when I watched that anime in 2007. That one was cool. I watched it recently and it was a banger. It was a good one. So we're talking about budgets. We're talking about outsourcing. Ultimately concluded his side of the story. These are things that Capcom doesn't necessarily, or Itzo-san doesn't have the power over. The Chinese company. Everybody's working with these permits, and it didn't work out. And just because it didn't work out doesn't mean I was canceled. The writer, Capcom, not offered any public comment on Langdon's above claims. So Capcom did not say anything about this. So the whole thing, just like a Gino Carano with Disney, what happened at Lucasfilm, it almost feels like the same kind of situation. But it's not Capcom's fault entirely. It was the director when that director got fired or left because he had problems too. I think if Reuben Langdon came back again, they would have asked him, but they didn't. So they went with someone else because I guess they felt sorry, or I don't know what happened there with the Street Fighter group. But it's mostly centered during the directors and all the people that worked there. They didn't want him. It was a group effort altogether. Of course, people wanted him canceled because he's crazy, he's a nutcase and all that. And other people are just like, what are we talking about? People have been talking about this for years. It's going on for a long time now. So people are just, questioning, asking stuff, and having some interesting conversations. That's all it is. It's conversations. What happened to sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? What happened to that? I guess words are more violence than anything else these days. So he's pretty much teasing that he's going to be in Devil May Cry 6, and it's going to happen eventually. Just wait and see. It's going to happen soon. He's teasing something else, obviously. It didn't work out the last 2 games for him, but I think he's still going to have, something to do with the next Devil May Cry and everything else, following up to that. Hopefully he's in other games as well, too. In other media, maybe some animes or whatever, Altogether, guys, what do you guys think about this? Do you think it's Capcom's fault? Do you think it's, all the directors' fault? Or maybe it was just miscommunication between all of them? Or this was planned all along? I didn't think about that. Now I think about it. Didn't Newsweek do it so they can crush him and make him look bad? So, he gets shunned by everyone else. So Capcom, cucks him. And then everyone else as well, other companies. But even after all the bad things that happen, there is a positive out of it after all. So what do you guys think overall? I don't think it's anything woke, to be honest, fully. There could be some woke ideologies and stuff that sprinkled in here and there. But I think it was just miscommunication and misjudgment here and there altogether, But yeah, what do you guys think overall? I thank you all for watching this long. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one all. See ya.